Well, hi there. Welcome to Real WW Talk. I am Erin.
I'm Candice.
And I'm Rikki.
And it's the three of us.
Reunited. I'm not going to sing the song, but I want to.
That may become our new intro music would be
I know.
Reunited. And it feels so good. How are you feeling this week, Rikki?
Better. I work in a school, I'm a teacher, things get passed around. So I definitely got a virus. Thankfully it wasn't COVID, but I was out for a couple of days. But thanks for allowing me the time to rest, and I'm happy to be back.
Those darn germy kids.
Right?
Mhm.
Candice and I said you're around kids every day and all of those daggone germs. And so if it got you, it's got you because you're like one of the healthiest people I know, given how many germs you're around.
Yeah, you beat both of us. Like we both got COVID and you were over there like, oh, that's so sad. And we don't work in schools. But
I don't play with the mask. I'm like, I still wear it most of the time, especially I work with kindergarten and fourth grade. Fourth grade, they're pretty good about covering their faces. And, so I don't wear a mask as much with them. But kindergarten, I put a mask on every time I go in that room.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. So let's kind of recap. How's everybody doing? How's everybody, even aside of like the week, where's everybody at? How we doing?
Rikki, you want to go first? I think you should talk since you weren't here. You got to fill.
Yeah, of course. I'm tired. I feel like it's that time of year where I want a big bowl of soup and I want to lie on the couch and I want to turn the heat up and cover myself in blankets and watch a good movie. So I feel like not as energetic as I feel like I did like the past weeks before, but the walking yesterday with the race was wonderful. Getting those steps in and been walking the dog a little bit more just due to different circumstances. And it's been good to see 10,000 steps on my activity watch every day. So I think that's getting used to that, but also having that feeling of like, okay, I moved today. I've accomplished something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Candice.
Oh, me next. Okay. I'm a little opposite of Rikki in terms of how I would look at relaxing. I was listening to her say she wanted to turn the heat up and then get under blankets. And I immediately just, oh my goodness. So I'm all about turning the heat down. I want to get it to like the lowest it can go so that I can be as cold as I can be to get warm under the blankets. And it could be also that I'm in a little bit of a chemo pause. That's one of the side effects of chemo is these hot flashes that I didn't know about. I'm in a world but even before that, I don't like to be hot. So Rikki, I don't see that as relaxing, but I do agree that I am in a space where everything has been so fast paced for me for the past 6 months, kind of going through this journey, and it's about to start slowing down. So I'm trying to just be open to change and just going with the flow because it's still a transitional time for me. So I still feel like I'm sometimes flying by the seat of my pants, but then I'm also like stuck. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like I'm both. I'm at a crossroads. So
yeah.
No,
that makes absolute sense.
Yeah, wish I knew how to explain it better.
No, I think you explained it perfectly. I think there are a lot of people listening right now who are like, yeah, I identify with that. Yeah, it's that stuckness, but also knowing there are things that are coming, and I got to get ready for them. I got to be, and that's what you've been doing. You've been, gosh, a friend of mine used to say this: hustle while you wait.
Yep. Yep.
And you have been hustling while you wait, and you haven't been necessarily, you're waiting for this next phase of the journey, if you will, but you've been hustling for the phase that you're in right now, because that's been a really active phase.
Really intense. It went from every 2 weeks and then every week, the last drug is every week. So I feel like it's just rinse and repeat with my cycles. So I don't know what I'm going to do to fill that time. I will find something. I have a toddler. I'm sure I'm not asking, Lord, please, I don't need anything. I'm fine with resting, but it just feels like it's one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. So
yeah. But meanwhile, you've got a pretty big milestone. I know when you're going to be listening to this on the podcast. This will have happened the day before.
Oh,
But you got a big milestone happening Friday.
yeah, I'm ringing that bell. I am super excited. I never, it's a day when you hear that this is going to be a part of your journey, you're wondering where you're going to be at that time. And to be here 4 days away at this point, it's really kind of exciting, but also, like I said, I'm like, what happened? Where did the months go? What is going on? So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you just talk about how many people have shown support in the Facebook group with their shirts all across the country?
Thank you, guys. Like, from the bottom of my heart. I mean, I was so touched. People took time. I was so thankful for those who took time out of their schedules to show up locally for the walk. We had a lot of members of our Weight Watchers group, our 7:30 meeting, who came and sacrificed their time to come and walk with me. And then also people who were online all over the United States and abroad, who posted their pictures, bought shirts. It meant a lot to me. So thank you. And to everybody else who is kind of going through this journey or loves someone who's gone through this journey. And maybe if it's not just breast cancer, any cancer, taking that time to honor meant a lot. So thank you.
We love you all. Yay.
Thank you.
What about you, Erin? How was your?
Well, I feel like I've been pretty open that things have been rough for me lately, and they've still been rough. I've had to get okay with disappointing people and not feeling guilt for disappointing people right now, because I'm going through depression, plain and simple. And I've got an appointment with my doctor on Wednesday. That I'm really excited for. I sound like I'm about to cry because I feel like I'm about to cry, but I'm not going to cry. Just because
if you cry, that's fine.
Right. Okay. It's just because I'm back in this space again, and I just don't like being in this space. But God is good to me, and so I'm gonna meet with my doctor on Wednesday. I finally was able to get an appointment with her, just to be able to look at my thyroid numbers and stuff like that. So we can figure out where the source is coming from. And on top of it, I just have a ton of stress. And so where does that all play out? I'm dropping balls left and right. And I don't like that because I'm normally a pretty on top of it person. And so it's just a combination of a lot of stuff right now. So weight loss is literally the last thing on my mind. It's just trying to stay healthy for myself and just, again, be okay with disappointing other people as I disappoint myself, because that's just the way it is right now. And knowing that I'm just, it's funny. I looked at my Facebook today, and it was a post that I shared 8 years ago. And it's a message that we talk about frequently here is feet first and your head will follow. And so right now I'm just in a feet first mode, and hoping that my head will follow at this point. But until then, my feet know the way to go. And so they're doing the best that they can. But I went for a walk today. The other piece of it too is my plantar fasciitis is flaring up. It is flared up so bad. And it's like, I can barely walk. And so even just trying to walk my usual 2-mile route and I come back, it's painful, absolutely painful. I had a getaway with a friend over the weekend. That was great, but we did some walking, and it was like, I literally can't walk anymore. And it felt not good to not be able to participate in a way that I could have 2 months ago. So I just feel like a lot of not good happening all at once. And the things that are my outlets, they're also not good right now. But I'm okay, and it's going to be okay. And it's okay to acknowledge where I am, what hurts, because I think that's important. And I'm not brushing anything under the rug. It just is what it is. And it will get better. So,
yeah, I think there is an element of it is what it is that you do have to embrace in certain seasons of life. There's nothing that anyone can say to kind of make it better.
Yeah,
I definitely can understand and relate to the fact that you just kind of put your head down and you
Mhm.
just kind of go into TD Jakes. I was listening, and TD Jakes has been like on my mind and like speaking to me with different things. But he said sometimes you just survive it. Sometimes you're
Yeah.
just in survival mode. Like I'm just getting to the next step.
Yeah.
And it's not about trying to figure out why it's happening or why do I have plantar fasciitis when that's my outlet is walking. It's how do I get through this so I can get to the next step?
Yeah.
And I'll understand it better by and by.
And I do see how you are putting feet first and the head will follow, but I feel like there's things beyond that you're doing. Like, I think choosing to still go for walks is doing a little bit more than putting feet first. It's saying I'm still prioritizing this time that's, you know, enjoyable for me. And I know it's uncomfortable now, but still trying to fit that in and going to the doctor saying I need this kind of help. I think that's, you know, something you're doing for yourself, and it's beyond just getting by. And I think you should be proud of yourself for that.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it's like the hard thing with this is you can look at a broken bone and you know how to set it, right? But when you have a broken brain, that's not always as easy to fix and set. And that just, it takes time or adjustments and medication and that kind of a thing, or introducing new things. And so it's just having to be okay with the weight and the adjustment on things. So
And I also really do, but I do love, and this is just a big plug for me for therapy, because I don't know if I mentioned you guys, I started going back to my therapist.
no, you started going back to her.
Yeah, because I was like, you know what? I said, here's the thing, like, I need to talk this out. It's kind of been a lot this year. And there's a lot going on. When I talked to her, I was like, let me just go ahead and tell you, I lost the baby and, you know, cancer. She's like, oh, so you were going to try to, okay. So we're going to, you wanted to talk to me when it was like just about weight loss. But after that, you didn't want to say anything. My point is though, that therapy and acknowledging where you're feeling and where you're at, no matter what it is so important. And I'm so glad to hear all three of us at different points in the past few weeks acknowledge where we are and our struggles and the things that we're battling, because I think that to normalize that discussion is so very important, because sometimes we put on that superwoman cape and everything's fine and I smile and ha 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 and weight loss, let's talk about food. No, there's other things that are going on. So.
Well, and I think that's also just it's a part of the journey. Like, and especially if you've been doing it for a while, like we've talked about, there are peaks and there are valleys. And there are times where, like, it's rare though that everything is like, you know, on an even plane. Most of the times there's ups and there's downs, and it's just acknowledging that the journey is not an even playing field always. Because there's a day when you're going to get thrown a curveball, like Candice, right? Hey, you got cancer, right?
Take the baby, cancer. Oh, okay.
Right. You know, right. Or me, I'm doing really well. Like I'm losing weight, I'm going down, I'm doing great. And then boom, all of a sudden, like something's changing in my brain and something doesn't feel right. And then it's like, I can't focus on anything. Like, wait a minute, I really need to sit back and assess myself and assess what's going on. I always remember my doctor had asked me this question one time, and she said, if I want you to like survey your life and think about the problems that are happening in your life or the stresses that are happening in your life. If this stress or this problem was solved, do you think you would feel the way that you feel right now? And if the answer is yes, then we know it's probably we need some tools and resources to be able to handle this stress or this problem. But if the answer is no, you think you'd still feel this way, then we know we need to take a medicinal route to help it. And I thought that's a really good clarifying question of what type of help do I need to solve this problem. So that's just the way that I'm looking at it.
Well, you know, and I also, it kind of delves into something, you know, we're getting ready to come into a really interesting period of time, you know, where I always think of the end of October as like the unofficial or the official start of the holiday season.
Yes.
And that can bring a lot of emotion, stress, happiness, sadness, worry. When you think about time with family, friends, putting on events, eating and dealing with the emotions of everything that we all have collectively talked about that we're going on. How are you all feeling about this season starting up in a few weeks. Talked about how quickly the year has gone and where you are in terms of your preparation, your food, and your thoughts about that time.
For me, it's my favorite time of year. I mean, I love it. I love the changing of the leaves and then going into, I don't love winter. I don't love being cold like some strange people do.
I like it cold so I can put the blanket on. Give that caveat. There has to be a warm blanket to be under.
Okay, gotcha. And I feel like I don't get super stressed about the holidays because I don't have a huge family, so I don't have I can have some control over what comes into the house, over how much it's more about what happens at work or what comes in, and in that setting where I have no control, that I start to worry about like how many cookies are going to appear magically. Like tons of teachers they just get chocolate shoved in their classroom and then they put it in the staff lounge if they're on a diet or they're trying to be healthy. And then people who maybe don't have willpower or don't have the same concerns or issues with eating that kind of food, they'll take it, or maybe someone will have one, or but it's a challenge for me because I have to decide, am I going to have this? Am I going to have one? Am I going to have none? And I have to pass by it 20 times. So there's anxiety with that part of it in this time of year. But I also hold on to knowing that there are times that I have a lot of control over.
Mm-hmm. Have you started formulating a plan in your mind? So thinking about the anxiety, but without the plan just kind of leaves it spinning in the circle.
Mm-hmm.
What have you been thinking about in terms of, not to say to protect yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but to create a plan of forward movement for yourself?
So I'm sorry, there's a spider crawling across my computer screen.
Oh no.
I'm listening to you, but
you
I'm
are
also
so calm, girl. Bravo,
yes.
star, because that would have been the end for me.
Okay.
Running around.
So you're asking
You're
me
such a teacher. That was such a teacher thing, wasn't that?
You said she was like, hold on 1 second. There's just a little spider.
Absolute calm. And then that moment where you just kind of sat up. Now, could you please repeat yourself?
Your question.
I was listening, but there was something going on over here.
Moment of the podcast.
Rikki, that was amazing.
I was like, do I mention the spider or do I pretend like I heard everything she said? Decisions.
The question that I asked, and I can even ask it shorter now, is anxiety around this time.
Yeah.
And if we leave anxiety untreated, that's not good. And so have you started formulating a plan so that anxiety isn't going to become that fear monster, but when we've got a plan, it puts you in the driver's seat and not anxiety?
Yeah. Short answer, no, I haven't thought about it yet, but I think it's time because Halloween, I mean, that's next week, and we don't celebrate those holidays in school, but candy still comes through the door. People don't want it, put it in this cafeteria, and I have to decide, am I going to avoid the cafeteria like the plague? Am I going to decide or teacher's lounge, I'm saying cafeteria. Am I going to decide I can pick one thing and have it as long as I track it? Am I going to what am I going to do? And I think that's something I need to decide before. Honestly, I think I'm going to have to, the most reasonable thing for me, I think, is to say I can pick one thing and track it, but I have to know that it's going to take willpower to say no to more. The good thing is typically things are gone very quickly. So if I do make that decision to have one piece of candy, if I make that choice, have it and leave and make an effort not to come back within that 30 minutes, it's going to be gone later in the day. But that's probably what I'm going to choose to do for that holiday. For Christmas, it's going to be a little bit different. For the bigger holidays where there's parties and bigger things like slices of cake and things that take up so many points, that I don't want to necessarily have that in the middle of the day.
Oh man, I want a cake in the middle of the day, but I know what you
I wanted, but is it going to help?
Why can't they put out the stuff we don't want? Why can't we put out the stuff we don't want? Like, I wish that they would leave for you Twizzlers and candy corn, because for me, that would be nothing. You don't have to worry. Erin, I'm not going there. You're making a face, which means you like one of those, which means I'm not going to talk to you. But Rikki, fruitcake. You can put out a fruitcake, right? That's
Right.
nasty. Like all
It is
those nuts
nasty.
and colors.
It's
Erin,
nasty.
I love fruitcake.
It's disgusting.
I
No.
love Twizzlers. I love candy corn. I love fruitcake.
you don't really like candy corn. Now tell the truth.
Oh,
No,
I like no.
seriously.
I like
love
candy
candy
corn.
corn.
I like candy corn too. I will tell you, it's not something that I would binge on. I'm not going to sit there. I like 2-3 solid pieces of candy corn and I'm done.
Are you all like really serious? Like I'm
No,
not
I'm
trying to joke.
100%
Like,
serious.
You're serious. You really like candy
I'm
corn.
telling you, it's the only thing that I'm saying I won't binge on. Like, because after 3 pieces, I'm like, okay, like this is good.
You guys, it's like one of the only things left still that I get that sugar high on. That, like I've told you before, like I don't get that high anymore when I eat food, because like it's all of the health and allergen friendly stuff, like it just didn't have that.
But candy corn does it for you.
Oh my gosh. And Brock's makes these caramel apple ones that are like, it's like about 4 pieces of candy corn to get. It's not together, but it's like the size of like one of those. And it's a little apple shape, and they're red and they're green, and they taste like caramel apples.
Ooh.
Oh
Okay,
my
this-
word. It's
I
pure
should not be
sugar.
I shouldn't be upset because we're talking to the peeps girl. Like, I mean, it should
Right.
not be like a thing, but I'm always
I'm
surprised.
team no peeps. Yeah, I'm
Right.
no peeps.
I know. Sorry. I just derailed us here, but I'm like, let me tell you something. Because listen, I didn't derail us. I'm speaking on behalf of the people who like candy corn, who like Twizzlers, and who like fruitcake. There are people out there who like fruitcake.
What
when
is
they hear
in
you
it?
say
Why
you're
is it so many colors? What are all
I
of
don't
these?
want
shouldn't
to
it be?
chew I don't want to have something chewy in my cake. And then you're like, oh, that's crunchy. Oh, that's chewy. Oh, that's gooey.
Dates,
What is it?
almonds, cashews. Then you throw in those little fake cherry things for the fun of it. Like, yes.
I feel like it was somebody who had everything in their house that they didn't know what to do with and was like, let me put some flour in here and just throw some. Look, there's some nerds. Look at all these nuts. How about some peanut butter? Put a little sugar and we'll call it a fruitcake. Okay.
My grandfather's partner, she used to make fruitcake every year, and you'd open that tin and she'd soak the top of it in rum, and you'd open that thing, and I swear your nose hairs would singe because it was just like, whoa. Okay.
I'm fascinated. Let me focus again.
We've moved beyond. Let me ask a question. Okay. Because I saw this come up on Connect, because that seemed to be a conversation today on Connect about preparing for holidays and how we feel. Somebody brought the idea up of, do you make sure you're following the plan, but then have a cheat day? What is your feeling around like a holiday cheat day?
I always ask the same question when I think about a cheat day. And that's, what is it that you feel it? Why do you feel the need for one? Because what does it mean about what you feel you can't do as a part of your normal plan or your normal life?
Yeah.
Because usually to me that indicates there's some restriction on the days that aren't cheat days, and that the cheat day is the day that you get to have what you really want.
Right. Like you get to live free on that day.
Free. And I'm like, why wouldn't we figure out? I know why that's hard, because I think a lot of times for me, especially in prior parts of my journey, a cheat day was, I don't want to stay within my points. It's not that I don't want the boundary of I only get this many points and I have to stop. A cheat day means I'm just going to eat a ridiculous number of points and don't care.
Right.
So it's not really about the type, it's just the boundary.
Yeah. I agree. And I think the other dangerous piece of it is what happens the next day. I mean, is it like, oh, I go back to quote unquote normal, but then I have all this food left over from the holiday. I'm still in vacation mode. I probably don't have to go back to work. Going shopping, we're out, we're doing things like, especially I'm thinking of Thanksgiving and Black Friday and like all of the things that seasonal feeling comes over you. And I think if you get into the mindset of like look at the weekends, so, people who choose to do cheat days on the weekend, how many of us who have done that have actually stopped on Sunday and said, oh, I'm starting like that. Like it's never ending. it never just ends up being a cheat day. And I think that's where it gets into, because you are breaking that habit. You are breaking the lifestyle, and it's saying that this lifestyle doesn't fit in with this holiday, which isn't true.
I one of the things that I've been trying to build over the years of being on WW is trying to create a life that I don't feel like I need to cheat from, and create a food plan that I don't feel like I need to cheat from, because then at that point I'm dieting again. And I don't want to diet. I just want to live it. And so that's my thought. As soon as I hear like the cheat day, and I'm like, no, I'm building a life that I'm trying to build a life that I'm not trying to escape from or cheat myself out of, and finding a way to be able to work those things in as part of the regular plan just make me feel like make me feel like a better person personally. And I mean, and this is also coming from someone who, keep in mind, like Rikki, like you're talking about with Saturdays and Sundays, where like that's been such a struggle, because Saturday becomes like the free, I wouldn't call it a cheat day, but it would be like, oh, I'm not tracking today. We're like, well, that is a cheat day.
Right.
It's a free for all. Like, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
And I don't do that anymore, because I can see that direct impact, throughout the week. So just finding a way to maintain and spread it throughout the week is certainly better.
And I can honestly say that the hardest part for me is, even if I know that I can work it in, like, I don't know, let's say I want a Starbucks drink, and I've looked at it and I've calculated the points for one, and even the tall for the one that I want is 18 points. Let's just say it's that, because there's some drinks where that's what it is.
Yeah.
I know I can work it in, and I understand that I could have chicken breast for dinner, and that I could have 2 cups of salad, and that'll give me 2 points, and I could drink 60 ounces of water and get 1 more point, and maybe I could exercise. Right. But that was just one thing I wanted. Like, that was just one of the things. And in this holiday season, I think that we're confronted with a lot of different things that are just the one thing. So it's the drink in the morning, but then I really also did want those fries when I go out with my friends to brunch later on, because I don't get to do that a lot. And that's 20 points. And then I had the 18-point drink, and then I had this. I can't make that work.
Right.
I'd have to say no to something. And that's when my inner 5-year-old comes in and says, well, it's the holidays, or it's this time. I don't want to say no. And if it's the first day of the week, and for us on the weekend, I'm like, I have all these other days to make it up. It's that fallacy of time, and I have time to undo this damage that I did. That makes it tough. I think there's so many different things that I want to label as a treat or as a one-time thing. I don't know if that was something you relate to.
Yeah. And I was just trying to think I think in all honesty, sometimes what I'll do is I'll look at it, especially, we've talked about this before, like at Thanksgiving, if it's something that I only get this one time and we only make it at Thanksgiving, then it's 100% worth whatever the points are, even if I go over the points. But even just going through the motion of tracking it, even though, like, I know it's put me over, I'm still being accountable for it. And I think that's, at least for me, and I don't know if you guys feel this way, that's where the difference comes in, is when I'm accountable for it and I see it in the tracker, I feel differently about things throughout the week than I would if I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and have that drink, and I'm going to have whatever I'm going to have at brunch, and just say, this is it, because it's a special occasion type of thing. Right. But and I'm not going to track it, I'm not going to worry about it. But if I say, you know what, I'm going to have that drink and I'm going to have the stuff at brunch, but I am going to track it, because I need to maintain the discipline and the consistency of being accountable. It's like it shifts something for me, and I am much more aware later in the week, and I'm not as off plan later in the week, if that makes sense.
I think that's very true. 100% true. Because I think that that's the first thing that falls or tends to fall when you do have these things. You don't want to be accountable to it. You don't want to see it. You don't want to say, you ate it or you drank it, but you don't want to account for it. And I do agree with you that the weeks that I have owned it and put it in, and even continued with the negative numbers, I've still seen success.
Especially when you do those things like you're talking about, to dig yourself out of it, to say, not as punishment, but I do want to see these numbers go down. Let me do an extra walk, or let me drink more water, or get some vegetable points. Like, there's ways to get out of it. And I think when you see that number start to go down again, it helps with the visual of, this week isn't lost.
Mm-hmm. That's a great, I'm so glad that you guys, Candice, that you brought that up. And Rikki, you talked about that, because I think we've all had weeks where our tracker has been in the negative and we've lost weight.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a big key of, don't give up hope. Don't throw in the towel just because you've got a negative in your tracker, because you might be really surprised by the end of the week.
And it goes the other way too, because it can be so much more in the negative and you don't even know because you didn't track it. And then, you don't have a loss that week versus, where you do try and recover from it.
I've actually had a week where I thought that I was going to not do very well, and I didn't track like I should have, because I made choices I wasn't proud of earlier in the week. Got on the scale the next week and the scale was down. And then I decided that I was just going to go back and put in everything that I had eaten the week before, because I wanted to be like the poster child. And I spoke up in the meeting like, you know what you need to do? Like, it's just very important, because you just never know what's going to happen. But I wanted to make sure I wasn't lying. So I went back and put in everyting. Like, I was like, you could have done this, like actually done this, not to prove a point in your mind that makes you not a liar. But it shows you how, when you have given up on your week, when you have given up on your week, look at the choices and how it can be exacerbated, or when you're still trying to kind of like push through. I've noticed that pattern. Like, Wednesday is always a day for me where I can kind of get a gauge or feel for like how the week is going. I don't know. It's like that midway point. And if I'm not tracking by Wednesday, or if I hadn't been putting things in, Thursday, Friday, it's usually not going to happen. But I always wish that I could have that reset moment, on like a Wednesday or even earlier, to say like, I don't have to wait until that time to be accountable and to continue going. Because
you said something, Candice, that just triggered a thought for me. And this is something that I've been working on, and is personalizing the journey and looking at the language that I use, where I'm talking about myself maybe as a food disposal space as opposed to a person. And it's I'm giving up on the week. And it's like, actually, I'm not giving up on the week. I'm giving up on myself. And I'm giving up on my goals for this week. And I have to be okay that if I sit here on Saturday and I'm upset at the scale, I'm not upset because I gave up on the week. I gave up on myself. I gave up on giving myself the best shot that I have towards my goals. Does that make sense? Like, I realize it sounds like really harsh, but it's also just super honest. And that's where I've been trying to like get in my head. Like, I'm not giving up on this plan or whatever. This is me. This is me that I'm talking about.
But is it also super honest? Sometimes I think that another super honest piece to that is, have you all ever felt that freedom sometimes when you do give up on the week? Because it's like, hey, the week is done because I've just decided to give up. So that means I can eat without abandon because I'm starting over fresh on Saturday. So I'm free for these 3 days because I don't care anymore. And so let me hurry up and eat everything that I don't want to have to track next week. Again, that's that diet mentality.
Right. Right.
That's I'm now free from the plan because I don't care anymore. Don't ask me about it until Saturday. So sometimes I feel like, I gave up on myself, and I'm like, great. Let's go to Cakes Plus, and get that personalized cake because, I gave up on myself. So it's not Saturday yet.
Right.
So that's another piece that I have to really actively say, that's not okay. You didn't gain 3 days of being able to overeat. The repercussion didn't go away because you decided that Saturday is your restart.
Right. And if we could bottle up that feeling of how we feel when we've given up, or on those days, or we've given ourselves the time off, and how we feel at the end of that, I think we need to bottle that up, not as a form of shame or to make us feel bad about ourselves, but to say, I disappointed myself. I wanted to do this and I chose not to. Why did I do that? And how can I do something differently? How can I remember how I feel right now when I'm faced with this choice in the next week? Because I think that's an important thing that I try to remember, and I try to help myself like think about how I'm going to feel if I make this choice again.
And
I
was going to say, have you guys thought about too, like getting in the space where, there's that interesting space where you're neither super, super motivated, but you're also not demotivated, right? Like it's just that in between. And I feel like I'm always in the search for that in between space where I don't need a high or a low to push me forward. Like this is just living. This is life. I'm not like to what you were saying, Rikki, I'm not shaming myself into doing better. And I'm also not falsely motivating myself or trying to live for the next high to pull me along, because when I don't have either of them, what's my motivation right now? Kind of like what we talked about last week, Candice, like keeping our why close by. Like what's that thing that's keeping us going from, the evenness of the next to the next and not riding a high or riding a low?
I'm sorry. It's my phone. I think that's always the battle, right? Is trying to find that space, to be in that isn't too high or too low. I haven't mastered that yet. I still am so very motivated by and even when we were talking about where I was earlier this year, when I got my diagnosis, and you're like hardcore, and it's all from, a lot of it is fear and, and I got to make these changes and it's going to be this, and trying to come back to like a level of homeostasis, like a middle ground where you can be there, but you can also still incorporate some of the things that you like, or the things that, you may have thought that were completely off limits without the guilt of it. I don't know. I still haven't figured that out, because I feel like I've needed extremes in order to be okay. Like I need the extremes, to motivate me longer term. And I don't like that. Because I feel like it shouldn't be, but there's what shouldn't be and what is for me too, that I just have to accept. Like sometimes, until it is that I am there, can I be at peace with the fact that the extremes do help me make choices that are better for me? Because you don't have to run from the fact that there are some things that that fear can be a motivator, and but that's okay. Maybe not forever, but for right now. Because I don't know how else to do it. I don't know. I wish I knew.
Yeah. I wish I did too. I feel like I can relate in a lot of ways of knowing the highs of like, I'm really, really motivated, and then knowing the low of like, I am just doing whatever I can to just stay afloat, and, tracking what I can, but not fully. Meal prep, for example, that used to be something I was so great at, and I've been struggling with really making the time and really the desire to do all of that. So it's kind of like, I know when I'm in my sweet spot, it's when I'm meal prepping and when I'm, doing all those things to make sure that I've got things to make myself successful in that next week. But a lot of times I can quickly go up to that like extreme of, okay, I'm going to do everything perfectly, and I have to have these, and I'm only going to eat this. And it quickly kind of goes to that. And then when it fails, it's back down to the, I don't want to meal prep. I'll just do simple things that really in the long run don't fill me up well enough as the meals that I would prep at home. So it's hard to just kind of find that middle ground and stay there. And that's the consistency piece. Sciat Fitness just posted something else about consistency and why people struggle with weight loss, jumping around from program to program. And the thing that he was identifying was the consistency.
Rikki, I watched that same thing today.
I saw it too.
Yeah. Like all of us.
Of course, we gotta watch our guy.
I was like, I need to go back and watch our man, our fitness man.
But I think there's a level of owning though that I've noticed in a lot of the I don't know if you call them influencers or the people on social media that I tend to follow recently who are more focused on like a balanced approach. They're very, very honest about when it is that they indulge or what they do. That they're like, look, this is what I'm doing. Today I'm having this. I'm absolutely fine with it. I'm happy. And I'm going to the gym afterwards because I like going to the gym. Like this one piece doesn't have anything to do with this.
Mhm.
And there's no hiding. And that's what Erin, you're talking about with tracking. It's like there's no guilt in the decisions that they're making about things that you may look at and go, ooh. One of the girls I was watching, she went to the fair and she got like all the fair food. I mean, like, like the cream cheese, the fried Oreos or whatever. You would say, oh, I don't wonder how many points that is. She's like, I don't care how many points it is because I'm not counting points today because that's not what I was planning on doing. But I'm also going to the gym because me going to the gym has nothing to do with the fried Oreos. And I'm going to step on the scale tomorrow because that's what I do anyway. That's where I want to get.
Is that a cheat day?
She didn't even say that, but I didn't even get the feeling of it like it was cheating. She was just like, I just am not, she's like, I just don't feel like looking up how many points Oreos are there fried because I don't think it's probably in the tracker. It was, this is what I'm doing. And it's not at all something that I'm thinking of as something that's a derailing moment. Whereas I feel like I would have looked at it and been like, let me just figure it out. Oreos, okay, wait. Erin said the gluten-free Oreos are 2 points each, which we know isn't true. And hold on, oil is this because I want to be perfect and I want to make sure I'm doing it right. Right.
So her mentality was, I'm going to enjoy these things because they're unique. You don't go to the fair every day. Yep. And it seems like the rest of her day, she wasn't saying, well, I'm going to have 7 hot dogs and I'm going to go through the drive-through. And I'm going to, the difference between that is I'm just going to make one choice that's meaningful to me on this day. And I'm not going to track it versus I'm going to just not track anything today. And I'm going to eat whatever I want with no care in the world. Like, and I see that distinction. I think that's a really healthy place to be.
And that's where you saw Syed. You saw Syed do that. He said, I'm today going out with a friend and I'm eating this and I expect the scale is going to be up tomorrow. And I'm going to eat it anyway and we will be fine. And then we can keep going.
Well, and that sounds to me like food freedom. Like something I talked about for right? Like it's food freedom. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to eat this completely in freedom and I'm going to be okay with it. And if I get on the scale tomorrow and it's up, I'm going to know that it's up because I ate a high volume of food today and it was something unusual. And so my body's going, hey, this is something different. Let's protect ourselves. Right? Like that's all it's doing. And when we're able to sit there and assess it from that mindset, gosh, there's just so much more freedom around that. Oh, and I'm going to the gym because I love going to the gym because it makes me feel great about myself. I got exercise freedom. I got food freedom. I just got a great day happening here today. Woohoo.
Yeah. No guilt. And I think that's the biggest thing. The guilt is just absent. And I think I told you that's something that I am mourning about another process with this cancer journey is that I'm trying not to feel guilty about when I have something that people are like, oh, because is that going to cause this? This is very hard because I'm already dealing with, I had food issues and now I have the additional, like I can't even have this without thinking that this could be causing something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how about we just tell those other people, mind your beeswax and
mind your business.
Right. Hey, if you want to sit for my chemo appointment, go for it. But I know what I'm doing, so I'm good.
Trust me, I'm very focused. I got it.
Right. Okay. Well, let me bring this to a close. One, I think I love our discussion on cheat and cheat day, and I know that gave some other people some pause, some time to think. Because again, our whole goal is just we want to just be able to do this journey in freedom, right? We just want to get to that place of discipline and the consistency and feeling happy in our minds about what we're doing and not having that, that war back and forth. And also hustle while you wait. There's something I love that what you were talking about, Candice. I think there's something in there for somebody, and maybe it's, we're waiting right now for Thanksgiving and Christmas to come. And instead of waiting for it with dread or what's going to happen with the scale, we hustle right now. And hustle doesn't mean go over exercise. It just means, hey, as a part of our journey, how are we going to hustle while we wait? We're going to drink our water. We're going to look at our fruit and vegetable intake, and we're going to do really good things for us so that when we have the days of those little extra food items or the parties, we can go into it with food freedom because we know that we've maintained this discipline and consistency. We've hustled while we've waited for these moments to arrive, and we can enjoy them with openness. So,
Yeah.
Yep. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a part of Real WW Talk. We love having you as part of our community. Like we said, even just starting out, how wonderful and supportive this community is to one another, but especially to us. Thank you for showing up this week for Candice and for others who are fighting their cancer journey. It means so much. There's so many women in our group, women and men, who have battled cancer and are currently on their journey right now, their cancer journey. And so we just love that you showed up for them. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if you want to be part of the group, Candice, why don't you tell people how they can find us?
Oh, we've made it so easy for you. You know that name, Real WW Talk? Search for it on every platform that you like. You can find us on Facebook, search Real WW Talk. Also Instagram. We are all on Connect if you are on the Weight Watchers app. YouTube, same thing. And anywhere that you stream your podcasts, you can find us there as well. So Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you do your podcast, search Real WW Talk and we'll pop up.
Yay. Oh, email. Rikki, do you want to tell people how they can email us?
Yes, you can also send an email to realwwtalk@gmail.com. We've made it
very difficult for you to find us. Okay.
So hard.
Yeah.
So hard. Well, we wish you a great week on plan as you hustle while you wait for the holidays to come.
Bye.
Bye.